Hi, I'm Bryan from A Bit of Orange, and the piece I'm going to do here is The Savage Truth About Atheism by Rent-A-Friend 2000. Okay? just go. You ready? Okay. I recently accomplished an unprecedented philosophical feat, namely the proof that if atheism is true, that atheists don't exist. I thought there would be some backlash from those who didn't like the conclusion, but I've yet to get a single complaint about that. Self-proclaimed atheists seem to be fine with not existing, but what they're all up in arms about is my defining atheism to mean an individual person who chooses to affirm the statement, "there are no gods," as true. Instead, they insist that atheism means having no belief in the existence of God. Of course, I felt this definition weak since it applies to, well, my shoe. Is my shoe an atheist? I think it could be safely said that my shoe has no belief in the existence of God. But does that make it an atheist? And what about my socks? I could be literally surrounded by atheism. Think about it. On that definition, the word atheist literally applies to any unthinking object. You guys really want to fight for that? My problem with this is not only that they wish to change the definition of a word so that it no longer means what it's meant for the past 3,000 years, but that means we can no longer use that word to refer to the people we have always referred to with that word. Namely, people who say, there is no God or gods. What do we call them now? Words should mean things so that we can communicate things to each other. This isn't the way to do it. How can I convey the problem with this shuffling of terminology? I stewed about it for a few days, but then it hit me out of the blue. MythBusters! The discussion we're having here is exactly the kind that they have on that show all the time, where they're trying to decide if something is true or if it's false. They consider the options, look at the evidence in favor of the differing positions, and then experiment to see which of those positions are defended by their own observations. They only have 3 possible outcomes. Confirmed! The assertion is true, meaning it is reasonable to believe it, there is data which supports it being so. Plausible! Meaning it is at least possible that it's true, but they don't have enough information to say that it is true or that it is not. Busted! The assertion is demonstrably false, meaning that it is not reasonable to believe it, there is evidence against it being so. People like to argue about what plausible means. I don't understand these people. They're like those restaurants that have a medium and a large but no small. How do you have a medium without a small? Medium is the one between the small and the large. That's what medium means. It's the one in the middle. It's not small enough to be a small and it's not big enough to be a large. It's a medium. Come on, people! Why is that hard? When it comes to the plausible concept, it's really pretty simple. You're not sure enough to say confirmed, and you're not sure enough that it's false to say busted. It's merely an, I don't know, maybe. That's all. You might lean heavily toward it probably being true or probably being false. But until you say confirmed or busted, then you are saying plausible. Busted is very simple. It says, no way. And I want all of the less philosophical atheists out there to note something that you say that Adam and Jamie never say. They never say, I'm calling it busted, and I don't need to have any reasons. Or as those of you who love scattered internet jargon like to say, I don't need to give evidence or reasons. I don't have the burden of proof. What the kids on MythBusters say is, the myth says this. However, we've seen this, which means that that could never have happened. It's busted. Can you imagine how irate you would have gotten if you had watched an episode about, say, the moon landing, and Adam would have said this. It's busted. The moon landing never happened. And Jamie would reply, well, what makes you say that? And then Adam had replied, hey, don't you try shoving your burden of proof off on me. You're the one who has to prove it did happen. I don't have to prove anything. You'd be all, why am I even watching this? Look, none of you accept that kind of argument from anyone about anything. So why do you accept it from yourselves about the existence of God? In short, if you claim anything to be a fact, the existence of God, your mother's maiden name, whether or not there is a teapot orbiting the moon, you have accepted the burden of proof. The only alternative is to admit that you are irrational. and you choose to believe things without reason, which as far as I can tell makes you crazy. Mucho cray cray. Mucho cray cray, which from now on will be my gangster rap name. Mucho cray cray. Sorry. I think the connection should be obvious. The idea up for debate is the existence of God. The theist says, confirmed. The agnostic says, plausible, but I don't know. And the atheist says, it's busted! When atheists try to combine the idea of atheist and agnostic, all I'm hearing is, it's plausible busted! Right, which fails to convey any useful information at all. I know some will try to argue that atheism means simply a lack of belief, which would still fall into the agnostic/plausible because it's based on not knowing, but if you don't know it's false, then you are admitting it might be true. Imagine if after some experiments, Jamie asked Adam what he thought, and Adam said, I have no opinion, so it's busted. Jamie would of course ask, so you think, based on the data, that it did not happen? And Adam replies, no, I'm not saying that I know it didn't happen, or even that I have an argument against it being possible. I'm saying that I don't have a belief that it did happen, and that's why my position is busted. You mean plausible. You think it might be possible, but you're not convinced by the evidence. I mean that I'm not convinced by the evidence, and while it might be possible, I'm saying it's busted. Well, you can imagine the fight that would ensue. That show is good television. In summary, if atheist means agnostic, then atheist doesn't mean anything, and now we need a word that means what atheist used to mean until recently. Putting atheist with agnostic is the same as saying, this myth is plausible-busted, which fails to convey any useful information. If you claim something to be a fact, whether that fact is the affirmation of something or the denial of it, you have accepted the burden of proof. So either explain your reasons and evidence, admit that you can't explain it and admit you have faith in something you can't explain, or shut up. Seriously, if you don't have any evidence, arguments, reason, or sober thoughts at all to defend your position, then just shut up. You're not being reasonable. You're being insane. But only I am being MC Mucho Cray Cray. Soon to be on Def Jam Records. No, I can't confirm that. But it is at least plausible.